you'll hear Dr. Janet Hall's expert advice on experiencing sensational sex with the emphasis on balancing the demands of your work life and your needs for a pleasurable sex life. This is in a unique format for the Sensational Sex audio tape series, as it's more light-hearted than therapeutic. So please know that you'll hear some good strategies for sensationalising your work life, but Jan takes no responsibility whatsoever for the consequences should you actually undertake her ideas. You see, although I'm sure you know Jan as the sex therapist on the television program Sex Life, you may not also know that Jan is an accredited public speaker with the National Speakers Association of Australia. The topic on this is one of Jan's most popular public speaking presentations, and she's in demand at conferences to present her challenging ideas as a light relief from the serious academic topics typically focused on during the conference. And as well as all of Jan's good ideas, you'll also hear some jokes that have a light-hearted look at sex. Jan wants you to have fun with sex. Remember the saying about birds and angels? Do you know why they can both fly? Because they take themselves lightly. So, now let's take a light-hearted look at how you can have a successful career and still enjoy sensational sex. I have pleasure in introducing you to my friend and colleague, Dr. Janet Hall.
So, how can you have a successful career and still enjoy sensational sex? The two seem to be in direct conflict. Think of Sue and Tony, both in their late 20s and working in the informational technology industry. Both of them were also studying for their MBA after hours. Fortunately, the MBA was at the same university and they were lucky enough to get into the same study group. Big deal. That meant that 3 nights a week and Saturday and Sunday afternoon they met up with 4 other people to study. You'd hardly call that a hot date. In fact, Sue and Tony came for sex therapy because Sue complained of pain during intercourse. Tony said they only had sex about once a month, and that was usually a quickie on a Sunday morning through sleep-sticky eyes. Sue admitted she was always too tired and saw sex as just another chore that she'd better do to keep Tony happy. No wonder sex was a pain. Well, what should Sue and Tony do to zap up their sex life and take away the pain for Sue? Well, if they can't change their work and study commitments, why not take sex to work? I'm serious. Imagine how motivated you'd be to do that tax return that's been moulding away under a pile of papers on your desk for 6 months. If when you looked at it, it reminded you of one of the best orgasms you ever had. Imagine how energised you'd feel if you were preparing for a meeting and your partner phoned you to tell you her favourite sexual fantasy and how she couldn't wait for you to bring your hot body home to her tonight. One sex expert says he never bathes away the sex smell before he gives a public presentation, because when he stands on the stage he feels very powerful with the feeling of his woman present with him. And he always wows his audience on those occasions after he has had sex earlier that day. Of course, his audience doesn't know he's had sex. It's his secret. And that makes the whole experience even more exciting. And with that excitement, he brings an exciting energy to his presentations. Could you see yourself suggesting this to management so that they might start energising those boring board meetings? Well, that may be best left to fantasy, but in all seriousness, I want to talk to you about the real benefits of bringing more sex into your work and leaving work at work so you can bring more sex into the rest of your life. And what about Tony and Sue? Well, they did need sex therapy. They needed to know that painful intercourse is usually caused because the woman is not being sufficiently aroused so that she's not lubricating and not swelling with receptivity. And arousal needs time, technique, and a positive motivation from both partners, particularly the woman. And Sue and Tony needed a...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?